Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If you're new here, today we're gonna do a little girl talk. Get ready with me. And I have something heavy weighing on my mind that I kind of want to just talk about with you guys. Alright, so all the normal makeup, everything will be linked down below if you're curious to check anything out. So snacky on these. I just had a giant salad, but sometimes after salads I want sweet. I mean, you can tell I've been eating them. Sour punch bites. Got these on our road trip and they've been in my office. Okay, let's get to it. Let's do it. I don't have SPF. Yes, I do. Skincare is on. Let's go with some SPF. It should honestly be a mineral because I'm going out for a walk later, but well. All right. So hi, hello. If you don't know, I just film these random videos. I talk to you guys about stuff. I feel like I have sour goo on my hands. I don't. Whew, it's cold. So little update, we just got back from New York. We were there for 10 days? 10 days we drove, which honestly wasn't terrible. The way up, we stopped in Cleveland, or just outside of Cleveland. I got so had on that hotel, you guys. I like booked it 3 hours before we were gonna be there, and then by the time we arrived, I was like re-looking up the address. It was like $100 cheaper. Not cool. But I was like so paranoid because on our trip up here, last summer, I booked this hotel and Scott like refused to stay in it. It was so bad. He didn't refuse. He was just like, "Are you sure you want to stay here?" And I was like, "No." So we all left. So I like have this fear of like booking the wrong hotel every time now, but whatever. Anyway, we stayed in Cleveland, and on the way back, we drove straight through. And by we, I mean Scott. So props to him, but it was a great trip. We got to spend a lot of family time and a lot of friend time, my best friend. And it's hilarious because her husband, who I also went to school with, he was actually in my grade. She was a year below me. We were friends. I was friends with Bridget before I was friends with Kyle, but nonetheless, no, I actually knew Kyle before. Anyway, I digress. It doesn't matter. We spent a lot of time with them, and her husband, Kyle, is like this with Scott. They have so much in common. They're just like, it's kind of nuts how much they love each other. But the topic came up while being there that the older I get, the more I want to be home. I didn't think I would ever say that. Like, I'm serious. I moved away from my hometown when I graduated high school. Literally, I think after graduation, parties were like over, I was gone. And I moved to Florida. If you guys have been following me for a while, that's like when I fell in love with YouTube, was when I moved to Florida by myself because I didn't really have friends. Because I just up and moved. And so I kind of left in a way that just was like, peace out, I'm done. The guy I was dating from my high school at the time had enlisted in the Marines, and so he was gone, and so I was like, well, there's no point to stay there. We obviously did not last, or not obviously, we did not last. I'm pretty sure he cheated on me. Nonetheless, it was not a good relationship to begin with. It's kind of insane that anyway, not that I'm gonna air his dirty laundry, but let's air his dirty laundry. I'm not gonna say his name. And I've never mentioned him in my channel, and you could never figure him out. I don't even have a picture of him on my social media, I don't think. Anyway, I know I don't. What was I gonna say? He ended up marrying the girl that he dated before myself. They got back together. They had a kid, and I just found out from my friend that he cheated on her and got the other girl pregnant, so they're gonna get divorced. Anywho, dodged a bullet on that one, am I right? So what was I saying? So the more I just left, and I didn't really ever look back, and I didn't think I would ever want to move back. And even after having Arlo, like, yes, I loved being home, but I would leave every time and be like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go back, right? I'm ready to go back to wherever I was. And now I'm realizing that that urge to go back wasn't the urge of not wanting to be there. It was the urge of wanting to get into a routine. With that being said, I just look at the life that Scott and I have here, and I absolutely love it, don't get me wrong. But it's like significantly more expensive to live in a city / city life. I mean, even close to a city. Where my dad's from, or where I'm from, is between Rochester and Buffalo, New York, and kind of in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And that's where I grew up. And now my dad lives on Canisius Lake in New York, on the Finger Lakes, closer to Rochester. And I grew up going there as a kid all the time. Like, we spent our entire summers there. But just like how much I spent so much time with my dad, and my aunt was up at the lake, because my grandparents had the house next door, and then my dad bought the other one. So anyway, we combined a yard, and my aunt still goes there, not as often, but she was there with one of her really good friends that I grew up with. It was really fun. And I look at these times now and think, like, why I'm running the rat race to be in a place like this. Because at the end of the day, everything is just way more expensive, and what our money could buy and what we could do would just be infinitely different. But with that being said, so are opportunities, and that's for Scott, not necessarily for me, because I can work wherever, right? But this is like gone. Oh no, it's not. But yeah, I realized that houses are a fraction of the price, and just everything's way different. And I know you can get that in Dallas, but you'd have to move pretty far as well, and then we wouldn't be close to friends and family. Whereas like in New York, we would be close to friends and family, but also be able to just like live a much slower life. And I think that's kind of where I want to be. And I honestly never thought I'd say that. I thought once I moved to the city, I would never move back, or even, I don't mean like the city, because I don't live in Chicago, you know, but we live in a very city-esque suburb, and there's everything you could possibly need. And with that leads to just, you know, going out to nicer restaurants, and just like stuff is just more expensive. Daycare, just everything. Life is more expensive in a place like this than it is where I grew up. And I just keep asking myself, like, for what at this point? Like, what are we doing? Why don't I want to be home? I remember, or when I was home, like, I was listening to all these stories about how, like, my aunt was telling me stories of things that she remembers. Like, I was a huge, like, I didn't spend a ton of time with my, like, extended family when I was younger, or when I was, that I remember. But when I was younger, they'll tell me stories, and I'll just be like, wow, you were a really big part of my life growing up. And I think about that, and I think of, like, moving back to Texas, which is what Scott obviously wants to do, and I understand there's opportunity in Texas, and like his office, there's still a hub there, which there is not where I am from. But his friends and family are there. But also where we would want to live, we wouldn't be super close to either one of them either. So it's kind of like, I just started questioning, like, why? And that I wanted to not necessarily, it's hard to say like this, and I hope you take this with a grain of salt, sand, whatever you want to call it. Fight for my where I want to live, if that makes sense at all. You guys know I'm pretty like go with the flow, and Scott didn't understand when I was telling him like I want to fight for where I live, because he's like, it's not a battle. And I get that it's not a battle at all, but my best friend kind of understood where I was coming from, of like, not even fight, but just like put that on the radar. Like, why is that not a possibility? Like, I would like to live there. Do you think we could possibly make that work? And it's something that we need to look into, but I just, the more and more I visit, and the more I'm getting older, and the more I'm thinking about what's important in life and all of that stuff, and like my brother being a big part of Arlo's life would like makes me so happy. And he's at this age, which is so great. Like, he went fishing with Brian and like caught his first fish, and there's just a lot of benefits to that. And then another huge thing was when we went to my best friend's house. She has 2 little ones. One is about to turn 3, like next week, I think. And then one is like 6, I think. Emma's 6, I think. And they just have this big backyard with a pool and a hot tub and a trampoline and a play set and an awesome outdoor area that they've obviously love. They spend so much time outside, and they love that family time, and they put a lot of effort into, you know, having that. And Scott and I both want that as well. Obviously, we've talked about wanting a yard and all of that, but the beauty of New York is like you can go and touch the grass and want to be outside, because in the summer in Texas it's hot, and not only that, the grass is horrible. So it's just yeah. But we went there, and the kids just like did their own thing. Like, they just played together, and we did our own thing. We played cornhole, and we, you know, hung out, and we didn't have to worry about like where the kids were 24/7, and had to, you know, it's nice to like be able to see friends without having to like go out of the house or plan something, and just be able to have something really comfortable and chill for everybody is such an amazing feeling. And like, honestly, like growing up, I went to daycare like at a friend, or not a friend's house, a family house. Like, I went with at a house anyway with a couple of other families. But besides that, I don't even know who our full-time we never even had a full-time babysitter. Like, our parents took us places, our family watched us, or yeah, if we didn't do something, unless kids can be involved and there was enough kids to entertain kids. And I think that's the other thing, is like Scott and I, we, you know, we have Neilani and Steve for sure. They're our friends and they're here. But our house really isn't big enough to have them, and they're, I don't know, it's just not the same. And I don't know how to explain it, but I just don't ever remember like my parents leaving me with a babysitter. And that doesn't mean we didn't do stuff. We did so much stuff. They did so much stuff. It was just different. And I just don't always want to just be like doing stuff like, because when you live in a city, there's less kid-friendly stuff and more adult stuff, or it's kid-friendly and there's not adult stuff, if that makes sense. It's either one or the other. Like, you're picking an activity that Arlo will love, or you're picking an activity that we'll love and we can't do with Arlo, or whatever it is. And then it leads to us just doing stuff by ourselves, and then having to have a babysitter, which I love our babysitter, but it gets really expensive. It's like, whenever you go out to dinner, add an extra $200 on for babysitting, you know, like literally. So I'm just kind of at this point where it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do things where, I don't know, it's just different. And that's how I was growing up, where it was like, I hope this is making some sense. I feel like I'm just rambling, but that's the life that I miss right now. There's more to just like being close to family, but also like friends that grew up the same way that I did, that are raising their kids the same way that we want to raise our kids. Just different. And I think I left in such a hurry from New York because I was like, peace out. I am not this person. Like, this is not me, da 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 da. But then I'm like growing up and realizing there was nothing wrong with how I was raised. I actually love the way I was raised. And, you know, I also like I want Arlo to have a relationship with everybody in his family, but Scott's brother and sister-in-law with their 2 kids live in Austin. We're not planning to move to Austin. It's hecka expensive and way too just like cluster right now. I would have loved to live there like, you know, a different time. But anyway, so they live in Austin, and then Scott's mom and dad live on opposite ends of town. And where we would want to live, Scott was thinking like Richardson area in Dallas. But that's way further away from his mom, and it's close to his dad. But it's just one of those things where it's like there's really not a happy medium, and it's not like moving home there would mean he would spend more time with one or the other. And I also know the only reason we spend that much time with my family is because I don't really visit that much. They're making the opportunity or the chance to see me when I'm home, but it won't always be that way. And I'm fully aware of that too, you know? So I don't know, I guess like I've just been thinking more about a slower life, I guess wherever that means, wherever that is, whatever that means. It just means kind of trying to, I don't know, figure that out. I guess that's my goal, is what I want to figure out, like what that means to me, where we can achieve that. You guys know I really don't have a problem living anywhere. I actually love to move around, but Scott definitely has some hesitation with moving there, and I don't think it comes from not wanting to be closer to my family or friends. That's not it at all. I think it comes more from like making sure that he has the opportunities, but I just know that like our income together in a place like that would be significantly different of a way of life than we live here, you know? I just feel like it just would. So I don't know, it's been something that's been weighing on me. We've had a couple conversations about it, and you know, we're still here for another year. There's no reason. I think sometimes when I'm like, I want to move, like I get up and like being like, let's go, let's make the decision that we need to decide today, where it's like we don't know what's gonna happen in a year. We have no idea. And you know, I don't know, we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what Scott's job opportunities are going to be like in a year. We don't know if he's going to have a fully remote job. Like now he kind of does. Like he goes into the office because we're here. And in Dallas, there is like a head office there. So there is a touchdown spot where that's where he would go when he needs to, but he doesn't need to be in office full time. So we are here for at least another year, and then open to figuring out what comes next after that, whether that be moving back to Texas. It's not that I don't love Texas. I like Texas. I don't love it, but yeah, it's not that I don't love it. I don't love it. No, I don't mind Texas at all. There is no income tax, which is amazing. And yeah, there are some benefits, but also I think that Dallas or Texas in general is getting very expensive to live because so many people are moving there. And yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. We will just have to see. Like we always have ties back in Dallas because that's where Scott grew up. That's where all of his friends are. But everyone's kind of spacing out a little bit. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing, whether that means having kids, not having kids, so on and so forth. I haven't worn my Frex in forever, so we're gonna do this. So yeah, I don't know. I just never thought I would see the day that I want to move back home. Like what? It's kind of crazy. But I told my dad about it. My dad's like, you know, I'm glad you got out. I'm so glad that you got out and did your own thing. But I did always hope that you would, you know, find your way back. But then on the flip side of, you know, my dad and whatnot being there, he's only there now about half of the year because he's in Florida half of the year now because he's old. He's a snowbird, I tell him. So that's something to think about as well. I don't know. Life's crazy. So I guess that's where I'm at. After the trip, you know, I feel like the last time I filmed one of these was like before the trip, like 2 weeks before the trip. And I feel like that video is like, I desperately need to just have some family connection. Like I need to be home. And then I got home and I realized that the only reason I want to leave is because I want to be back in my routine. And I feel like my routine, granted, would be so much different there, right? Like a lot different. Like the funny thing is like, I feel like my dad doesn't like go to the grocery store to buy vegetables. Like he just gets them off of road stands. Like we didn't buy vegetables all the time. He bought what was in season and he bought stuff on the way home. Like that's just kind of how it was. So I wouldn't be going to Target all the time. I wouldn't be doing all this stuff that like I do now, but like, do I need that? No. Does that truly make me happy? No. So I don't know. Wherever we live next, I would like to have a slower life, if that makes sense. I think the older you get, I think the more you want a slower life. Some people definitely thrive in slower lives and some people love the city. And Arlo definitely wants a slower life. The amount of times that kid peed outside, I don't think the kid peed inside the entire time we were there. Kid likes to pee outside, okay? I don't know. It's just food for thought, stuff I'm thinking about, and we'll see what the future holds, you know? I need to get a new mascara. This one's out. Mascara is done. Let's set this face. Ooh, a little bit more. All right, so that's it. That's the finished look. That's my rambly rant for the day. That's where I'm at. That's my headspace. I would love to know y'all's thoughts. If you, I feel like this spot on my face is really dark. Is it just not blended or is that just melasma? I don't know. I was out in the sun a lot this week, this past week. But yeah, I would love to know what y'all's thoughts are. Did you move away for college, move to a city, and then thought you'd never move back, want to move back to your small town? What, I'm curious. I just want to know y'all's like thoughts, I don't know. Do you ever wish that you lived a slower life? Do you live a slow life and wish you didn't live a slow life? I don't know. I'm sure there are pros and cons with everything, but the cool and amazing thing about life is, for the most part, you can change those things. And if there's something you don't like, you can change it. And if there's something you like, you can keep it. Like, I know moving is a pretty significant thing, and with a family, you know, it's a lot more significant. And with Arlo getting ready to go, you know, he's 3, almost 3, well, he's 3 and 4 months anyway. It makes those decisions a little bit harder that we're gonna have to make soon, that we wanna keep him kind of in a spot where he's comfortable and happy and can thrive and make friends. But know that we have a little bit of leeway in the meantime, so we'll see what the future holds. Thank you for listening to me vent. And yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll move back to my hometown. We'll see. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching.